Hey there! In previous episode, we made our own first class in Unreal Engine. However, without compilation of this class, we cannot use it inside editor. In this episode, we will discuss what are the different methods that we can compile our codes and make it functional in Unreal Engine. Let's then dig into it. Okay, then let's take a look at what we have here as a code compilation methods. In Unreal Engine, we can say we have three different methods that are different in their functionality and can be used in different conditions, actually. One of them is legacy, and we will not use it that much, but the other two is very useful, cold reboots and live coding. But before discussing them, we need to know a little bit about binaries and DLLs. When we look at the big picture, when you write a C++ code, you're writing English text that is human understandable and readable, but computer does not speak this language. They are talking in zeros and ones, at least in these computers that we are using. Binaries is an umbrella term for any file that contains this translated machine code into the code that is understandable for the computer. For example, in Windows, we can say exe files that are the main programs that starts everything, and also DLLs, which are dynamic linked libraries that are very handy, and we will use them a lot when we are working with C++ and other programming language. They are the helper files that helps the exe file to do not be so huge, and they will split it into the smaller pieces that each one can be replaced over time. We can discuss about DLLs later, but for now, just know that it's a part of the code that converted from the human readable text into the computer readable. But then what's the difference between different compilation methods? For example, the cold boot. When we are talking about the cold boot, we will say in this method, we are deleting all old binary files and rebuilding the game DLLs from scratch. The benefit is it's safest method comparing to other ones, and it's also more stable. It guarantees that the memory is cleared and classes are correctly registered. However, it's slower. It seems like that you need to close your engine, build everything from scratch, and then wait engine to be loaded again. When we should use it is actually when the live code is not enough or it's not functioning as we expected. In this way, we can go for live coding. It's a newer method in Unreal Engine that instead of rebuilding the whole DLL, live coding patches the functions in memory while the game is running. The benefit is it's much faster than the previous method. You can also take some parameters or logic during the runtime or in the editor actually. And the disadvantages is it's somehow limited. You cannot handle structural changes like adding a new variable in the header file in some cases. Usually we use this by default unless we reach the point that is not functional or when we are changing some parameter or logic in the methods that we have. There is also another method that is not recommended to use, which is hot reload. It's similar to the live coding, but just by disabling the live coding. It means it's still in the editor without closing the application, but it may lead to some issues with the variable, corrupting blueprint, and other stuff. Let's begin with the previous class that we already created, and we would like to see how we can do the cold boot. Here I will just, as an example, I will add another public variable just to see. We will discuss about what is it and how we can do this, and the meaning of that one is somewhere else. I will choose it as edit anywhere just to have it, and then I will define an int 32 variable called my integer and give it an initial value of 10. Now, if I either press Ctrl Shift B in my shortcut setting or selecting a build a startup project or right clicking here to build the selected project, we'll get the same result, which is our cold boot. Now the build is finished and we can now open the Unreal Engine to see the result of our implementation. I just open our projects. Well, now the project is open, and if I create a new blueprint out of the class that we generated, it was sample actor class. I select it and call it PP sample actor. I would see I have access to the parameter that we defined there inside the sample actor, and here my int with the default value is here. However, I cannot see it in the variable list, and the reason for that we will discuss about it in the next episode actually, when we are discussing about new property and variables. But now we have our value and we can use it and modify it, and it will be very handy. The other method that we discussed was live coding. Instead of closing the project or editor and compiling the code, we can go into our code and make sure beforehand that live coding is enabled. We can come here and check and enable live coding is enabled. Then in the code, you can just create a new property, edit anywhere, and I use floats variable here and call it my floats. And this one I put it to 1. If I now build this project, I would see the new window will pop up, which is live coding window. This one starts to compile our code and specifically the DLLs that are required for this part. And it will be much faster than the previous step, and the result will immediately be visible inside our blueprint. It's successfully patched, and now if we go to our Unreal Engine, and in the blueprint, we would see that we have another parameter here called my float, which is a float variable. And by changing it, we can see that it's already applied, comparing to my int that we previously created. The other method that we discussed, and it was hot reload, will happen if you disable the live coding, which is not recommended. That's it. Now we know how we can compile our code, and we are ready to implement our features in there and compiling it. I hope it was useful for you. Until the next one, see you there.